Today on the agenda, I'm going to talk about how you can automate the backup of your Falcon Pi Player to GitHub or some other site where you don't have to wonder, hey, when was the last time did I take a backup? Now, my name is Kenny. This is Tech Talk with RHT Services, where I talk about web development, software development, and all kinds of things related to tech. Now, the topic of having a backup of your Falcon Pi Player and its configuration, among other things, is something that I've seen fairly recently within the last several years of me doing my own Christmas light show. In my particular setup, though, I decided, hey, I'm going to automate this because of the fact I don't want to have to remember to take a backups. Like, those type of things should just happen automatically. You make a change, it should automatically be backed up. Now, I will show you how I have mine set up, and then I'm going to actually I'm actually just going to walk you through how to set it up and talk about the things that I implemented in my particular setup when it comes to this automated backup process. So to go ahead and get started with this, you will need to have Falcon Pi Player pulled up. As you see, I have it pulled up on my local network. You do need to be able to access this during the entire process. In addition to, your Falcon Pi Player needs to have internet connectivity in order for this to work. I know some people, they don't allow their shows to connect to the internet because of the fact of they don't have a need for it. However, for this process, you need to have internet access for your show. And even if it's only ran through like a proxy or something else of that nature, that's perfectly fine. The whole show or all of your components do not need to have internet access. Just the device that the Falcon Pi Player device, probably your master device, would need to have access. Now, if you have secondary Falcon Pi players like remotes, you will want to also have those to do the backup as well, because of the fact the configuration for a remote Falcon Pi Player is different than that for a master or a primary Falcon Pi Player. All right, so this is my primary or master instance of Falcon Pi Player, but the steps would be the same if you do this on a remote instance. The first thing you will need to do is to go to GitHub and create a repository. And so I'm going to do a new repository, and I'm going to call this FPP Auto Backup. Now, if you come looking for this repository after the fact, you're probably not going to see it because of the fact I'm going to set this to private. And the reason being is because I have my music files also committed in version control. There is a way that that can be excluded, and I will kind of walk you through how to exclude certain files later in the video. All right, and so you don't have to create a description or anything else of that nature. So what we're going to do is go ahead and hit create repository. All right, and so then you get these list of commands. Now, if you've never done git version control, you will need to do this from the command line, and I will show you how to do this from the command line. And it gives you this list of commands to create a new repository or to push an existing repository from the command line. Now, we do not have an existing repository, so I'm going to do the create new repository on the command line steps. What we'll need to do next, depending on the version of Falcon Pi Player that you're using, there is an integrated shell in the Falcon Pi Player user interface. Now, if you're not familiar with how to use the terminal, don't worry, I will cover everything. Now, for those of you that want to use the native shell, like I'm using a Linux computer, so I can use the shell or the terminal on Linux and then SSH in. If you want to use PuTTY, you can use PuTTY doing the same methods, but because majority of the people that were doing this will probably be doing this from the FPP user interface, I'm going to do it using the FPP user interface and the shell that comes with it. For context, this is Falcon Pi Player version 6.3. However, I've had this particular process set up on my Falcon Pi Player from version 4.3 onward. So if you're using older version of Falcon Pi Player, at least up to version 4, I know it does work. If you're using 3 or 2, I'm not 100% sure if it works or not on this, but you can give it a try. All right, so if you come over to the help menu and click SSH shell, you will get this new window here. And I'm sorry, I can't control the brightness. I don't believe I control the brightness. Oh, white on black. There we go. All right. Oh, black on white. Oh, white on black. Okay. It's not changing color like I think it would for some reason. All right. So, anywho, the login here will be FPP. And then the password by default is Falcon. Now, if you change the default password, and you can change the default password in version 6.3 in the user settings. If you change it to something else, you will need to enter that password. All right, so what you're going to do, and what I've done here, because I already have this set up, I don't want to undo the configuration that I already have in place, but I do want to show you what you will need to do. So when you are logged in, once you log into the shell, you will do ls, and then you will see something similar to this. What you really want to pay attention to is this media directory. This is the directory that all of the configuration, the music files, the videos, sequences, and so forth are stored in. So if you come into the media directory, and we'll type here cd media and do ls, you'll see all of those directories: backup, cache, config, effects, music, videos, etc. Now this is where you'll want to do this, but because I already have this set up, I'm not going to do it here. I'm actually going to do it in a separate directory that I created for this particular tutorial. All right, so I'm in my media directory for the sake of this tutorial. And so if I do ls, as you see, I have all of the same files: backup, config, effects, music, videos, etc. Now what I want to do initially is I want to create a get ignored file. And the reason I'm creating this get ignore file is so that I don't back up things that are not necessary to be backed up. So I'm going to do nano.getIgnore, and you have to put that leading period here because of the fact the version control get will not recognize this if you do not do this with the leading dot. So it's period get git ignore. You have to name it all lowercase. You can't do uppercase, camel case, or anything of that nature. It has to be lowercase. All right, and then you press enter. Now you get this text here, or text editor here. And what you're going to do is you're going to name, list some of the files here. So one of which is you're going to do the temp folder, because you don't need to save the contents of the temp folder. So you'll do tmp slash cache was another one. So cache / and then for the files that you do not want to include, you'll do an asterisk and then the suffix of that file. So log. I believe there's some other files in here that I don't want to include. For example, if you don't want your media files like your music or your videos in here, you can do star mp3, or if you have movie files, star mov or mp4. I keep my music files in my repository, and that's one of the main reasons why I keep it private. So that way, in the event I ever have to restore this, all I got to do is just check out the repository and everything is there. All right, so once you have entered all of the folders that you want to exclude, I think there's some others here, but I'm going to, at this point, press Control X. If you're using a Mac, there will be Command X. You'll get a prompt down here at the bottom that says Save Modified Buffer, type Y for yes, and then hit enter to automatically save it as the file name to write. And then it will bring you back to the prompt. Now, there may be some other things in here that you do not want to include. If that is the case, like the backups directory, you probably don't want to keep a backup of the backup, but you may. You never know. But I would say for sure, you do not need to keep a copy in the version control of your cache and the temp, and I think also the logs directory. So let's modify this again. So we'll run the same command, nano.getIgnore. And then I'm coming here and using the arrow keys, navigate down, and I'm gonna put in logs and the directory there. All right, so then Control X, and it'll ask you to save, to which you do. All right, next we'll come back over to GitHub, where you have the get init. So you can copy this. You don't need to copy this first line here, but do copy this get init and paste. Okay, that's not going to work. So get init, and as you see, it will say using the master as the initial name of the initial branch. I'm not sure how it's doing this. Okay, I see what it's doing. All right, so copy the init, and then we're going to do a get add period. So get add period. And this will now add all of the files that are in this particular directory to version control. And it may take some time depending on how much stuff you have in here. It also may take some time depending on how fast your SD card is. So that being said, while that continues to run, what I'm also going to show you is, let's see, let's come back over here. So the next thing will be to do a git commit, which will commit the script will commit all of the files automatically. Now that has completed, then I am going to continue with the next part of the process, which is to do get status. And what get status will do, it will show you all of the files that have been staged for committing. And so as you see here, we got a bunch of DLLs. I actually have several plugins in here, but all of these files here are set to be staged for committing. Once we are done with that, come back down to the bottom of the screen here and do get commit -m. Actually, wait, I think I skipped the command. Hold on. Yeah, so get commit and then first commit. And as you'll see, it will show you everything that it just committed. All right, so I'm going to do a clear again. And the next command here is to do get branch -m main. So get branch -m main. That will then move that over, and then you want to copy the next command, which is the get remote add origin. And I don't know if this is going to let me correctly or not. Nope. All right, so get remote add origin. Get at github.com with my username, and then the FPP auto backup. I think it's the name of it. Auto backup.git. All right, now I will do a get push -u, get push -u origin main. And I also forgot one step here, so let me come back to this. All right, so what you want to do is to come over to settings in your repository, and you'll want to do a deploy key. So you come over to deploy keys and you'll create a deploy key. Now I have a separate video that talks about how to create SSH keys. What you'll want to do is once you create your SSH keys, then you will come over here and paste the contents of the SSH key in here and give it a title, and then you will click add key. Now I have multiple Falcon Pi players, and so because of that I have the SSH key defined up here in my account level. However, you can set it to be specific to the repository. So I'm going to do yes, and let's see, I think it will push. Hopefully it will push. We'll see. And depending on how much stuff you have on the Falcon Pi Player will determine how long it takes to compress these objects. That being said, I'm gonna let this run and then come right back. Now that that has completed, next we have to set up the automatic cron job. So what you're going to do is do cron tab -e, and the -e stands for edit. And then you will come back over here to the cron tab editor. And so what you'll want to do is do so usually I run set my script up to run every 4 hours. However, you can do every 6, you can do once a day, it's up to you. But you can look into how to do cron tab jobs and go from there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is to set this up as 4 minutes, and then you can do wildcards. So like I say, I do mine every 4 hours. I'm actually think I'm gonna change it to every 6, and I want it to run every day, so I will do 3 asterisks after that. Next, I'm going to do a open parentheses, and then I'm going to type in the full path to the get executable, which is /user/bin/get. And then I want to do, actually I need to change into that directory. So you want to do cd/home fpp/media. Now mine is named media tutorial, but it's actually /media for you that are watching this. All right, so then after that, you want to do user bin get add dot, and then double ampersand /user bin get commit -m automatic backup, and be sure to put the automatic backup in quotation. You can do single quotes or double quotes. Should not make a difference, but I'm going to do double quotes just in case. Then another double ampersand, and you want to do /user/bin/get push closing parentheses, and then you can do something with the output, that is up to you. Now, I prefer to do something with the output, so I will do a arrow and then do /home/fpp logs and then auto commit or auto backup. Let's actually call it auto backup .log. And then we'll do 2 greater than &1. Now, what that last part does is it will take all of the error output, because you have standard output and you have standard error. It will take all of the error output and merge them together into the standard output, and then you will get all of that into a single log file. And that is much better than having to have 2 separate files for the standard error and standard output. Now, this line is not going to wrap on here. So what I'm going to do is to do Control X at this point, do Y, enter, and then I can verify what is in here by doing cron tab -L. And as you see here, this is what it will run. Now, I can wait until it runs again, or I can do by highlighting what I just put in here, do copy, and then right click again, paste. And as you see, it will paste that full command out down here, and then I will hit enter. And so as you see, no files have been committed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually do a, let's do ls, and let's assume that I have now uploaded a sequence. So what I'm going to do to test this out is actually, I'm just going to touch and do sequences testing.fseq. Now, this is, again, it's not a true sequence file and whatnot, but the sake of this is to actually just demonstrate how this will work in version control. All right, so I'm going to press the up arrow several times until I get back to the series of commands that I previously had, and then I'm going to hit enter. And as you see, it is asking to automatically do this, which it should not be prompting to, but I think it's only prompting because of the fact, because I have this issue here. I have an offending key in my thing, so normally it would not do this. But so, a matter of fact, let's yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and hit yes. Normally you wouldn't encounter this, but as you see here, so once this runs, you get an automatic commit and it automatically pushes. Now, if we come back over here to GitHub and go over to the code tab, as you see, all of the files that I have here are there. And if I go into the sequences folder and the testing, this last one here, testing.fseq, there it is right there at the bottom. So this will work, and it will, like I say, is set. If you go to cron tab -L, it is set to run the 4th minute. This is the 4th minute every 6 hours, every day of the week. Now, if we, I did not have this writing to, when you run this from the command line, it's not going to automatically write to the log file. But that being said, though, you could come if you have any issues or you don't see where the timestamps on this are updating. You could come back over to your GitHub repository and see, you know, hey, is my backups up to date? If they're not, come back, check your log files, or in the worst case scenario, run your command here to see if there's any issues that may be coming up with this. That being said, that will wrap things up. If you have any comments or questions about this particular video, feel free to drop those down below. Hopefully you're able to keep your latest versions of your backup up to date by having this, and that this is an asset to your light show. Again, this step does work for both masters and remotes. However, I know some people, they don't want their show connected to the internet, but unfortunately, you have to have your show connected to the internet in order to implement this strategy. That being said, thank you for watching. Please be sure to comment if you have any questions about this or how to set up, or even if you run into any issues, I'll be glad to help you diagnose and walk through those issues. Thank you for watching. See ya. Also forgot something. The copy of the commands here will be available on the website rhtservices.net in the technology blog post that corresponds to this. You will be able to get a copy of those commands in addition to the additional commands that I ran here in the video. So if you weren't able to copy everything from the screen, you can go to the website, copy and paste from there.